How time flies. Oh. Hi, I didn't see you there. I just want to give a big thank you to all of those who supported the channel throughout the year. Whether you subscribed, liked, hell, maybe even turned on notifications, or if you just fucked off the first 10 seconds of the video. I still appreciate every single one of you. I hope to see you guys next year with new music, reactions, reviews, all the good stuff. Hope you guys have a safe and happy holidays.
What the fuck do you think you're doing?
What do you mean?
Aren't you gonna do the list?
What list?
Your fucking albums of the year. You're not a true music review channel without the list.
Oh, well, funny how you say that, because, oh hey, today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna be presenting my top 10 albums this year, right here, right now. Okay, let's get started. You like this setup? I'm not working with a lot here. Give me a break. I don't have a great budget. I look like I host a drug cartel behind those Asian spas, but anyways, number 10 album of the year. That's right, you guessed it. Tekashi 6ix9's Day 6ix9ine. Oh, yep.
Wait, what the fuck?
Alright, number 9, we're gonna give it to Russ's Zoo. Elevating mindsets every single
fuck the shit out of them and put them onto some new wavelengths and new material knowledge-wise so they can use it to make their life better.
And then number 8, JoJo Siwa's DREAM. The music. Alrighty, number 7, going to 420 Unlovable. The 420 Unlovable family tapes. Yep. Great holiday music when grandma comes to watch the kids open presents on Christmas. Number 6 goes to Kids Bop 38, and oh whoa, would you look at that. Number 5 also goes to fucking Kids Bop 38.
You done with this shitty skit yet?
Not even fucking close. Number 4, I'm gonna have to give it to not only Minecraft Songs 2, but Minecraft Songs 3 as well. Oh, yep, we got a 2 for number 4. Both by the Minecraft King 27 himself. Wow, would you look at that? We're already in top 3. Okay. Alright, third runner-up for album of the year goes to Bad Baby with 15. I still can't believe that this fucking chick is younger than me. Number 2 goes to every single fucking Ram Ranch that Grant McDonald has put out in 2018. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, or whatever fucking gender you are, the moment you've all been waiting for. Can I get a drum roll, please?
God left me unfinished!
The number 1 album of the year in 2018 goes to Little Xan, Total Xanarchy. Oh, beautiful structure, superb lyrics, grade A production. Oh wow, would you look at that? Fuck you. Hello everybody, sorry for the really shitty skit in the beginning, but I'm here with my top 10 albums of the year of 2018. As mentioned in the skit, I just want to give a big thank you to all of you guys who have supported the channel this year. I hope you guys have a great new year. I'm so excited for 2019. And yeah, before we get into this top 10, I want to first shout out a few people, and I also want to do some honorable mentions. I want to shout out my friends Prism Trash and CILC. Prism Trash is a fellow subscriber and a good friend of mine, and he's put out some amazing beats. He's a really good producer. If you like the off-kiltered, sporadic, experimental type stuff, and I feel like you'd really like what he makes. CILC is another fellow friend of mine who is a rapper, and holy fuck, this kid has some fucking talent. He has put out a few singles, and they are amazing. I love his wordplay and his flow on all these tracks and how aggressive or mellow he could be. He's essentially like Joba Jr. in Brockhampton, so yeah. The last person that I want to shout out is not really a friend. I just saw him on his Discord. He was promoting his album. I checked it out, and holy fuck, I cannot believe that this guy doesn't have as much recognition and popularity that he deserves. His name is Avenade? I'm gonna guess Avenade. He does a lot of punk and rock type stuff, and he has released a phenomenal fucking project called Here's to the Prejudice. Trust me, it's really fucking good. It sounds grimy and authentic and just raw, and you can headbang start to finish on his entire fucking EP. So yeah, those are the people I want to shout out. All their links will be in the description. Before I move on to the honorable mentions, I've created this little like ranking system just so it could be easier to kind of know how I feel about these projects, especially in the honorable mentions where I won't be going into too much detail on my opinions of them. I created this little chart right here We have 4 different categories. One isn't really better than the other. So we have the sweet category. This is for albums that are very colorful and bright, and these types of albums will be more approachable to most people. You have savory right here. Just a nice kind of introspective, deep album, really, that you need to essentially have to listen to more than once in order to kind of understand the concepts and all that other shit. Next we have Spicy. It's a fire album. And it could either be like fire as in we're going into Bangerland, or fire as in like muy caliente type shit. Jesus Christ. And then lastly we have Sour. Obviously Sour is a bit more of the unhinged type shit. Not everyone's gonna love a Sour album. This is more of the experimental type stuff. With that being said, let's move on to the honorable mentions. I have 10 of them. They are in no particular order. For honorable mentions, we have Sophie's debut album, Oil of Every Pearl's Under Insides. That is a tongue twister. And for that, I'm putting it in the sour category. You can also kind of put it in the sweet category as well. Next you have Sabrina Claudio's No Rain, No Flowers. I'm putting that in the spicy category as in muy caliente, because holy shit, this is a hot ass album. Next we have Kate, Live from Her Room, which I will put in the sweet category. Kanye West and Kid Cudi's Kids See Ghosts. That is both a savory and spicy album. Georgia Smith, Lost and Found, sweet. Jack Stauber, High-Low, sweet and savory. Flatbush Zombies, Vacation in Hell, savory and spicy. Cupcakes, You for Eyes, which is a very spicy album, both in the sense of Bangerland and muy caliente. And then last but not least, Tabby's Peach Fuzz, which is a spicy album, which nicely transitions into a sweet album. Hi, editing me here. I listed 9 honorable mentions instead of 10. There's one mentioned I forgot to mention. Anyways, the 10th album that I forgot to list was J.I.D's DiCaprio 2, and it's in the spicy and savory category. Anyways, let's continue on the video. Okay, now that we got that done, let us start off with the top 10. For my number 10 album of 2018, I'm gonna give it up for Boy Pablo's Soy Pablo. It's a very sweet album. Soy Pablo was one of the very few albums where I fell in love with every single fucking track on first listen, and that love just kept on growing for me. The dreamy guitars and the catchy tunes contrast with some of the pretty depressing lyrics, like with the concepts of feeling lonely and problematic relationships. Each track is like a chapter of this story that the band is narrating. This album is very fresh and bubbly. I like the structure with the sound and emotions switching back to back on this project. For example, you get the happiness of What the Fuck, which then contrasts to the slow emotional style of Sick Feeling, which bounces back to the uplifting vibe of T-Shirt, going back to the slow stuff on Limitado. Yes, it might be a bit repetitive and the lyrics are simplistic, but this project is meant to be a fun listen. Next album. Number 9 on my list goes to Steady Holiday's Nobody's Watching. I first discovered Steady Holiday's song Flying Colors, and holy shit, it's one of the fucking prettiest things I've ever heard. It's this blend of like a eerie ambient bass with these cinematic strings and orchestral sound and these creepy yet soothing vocals. After listening to that, I decided to delve into this album, and at first, not gonna lie, it didn't automatically click with me. I thought it was just a little bit boring. However, after really sitting down and listening to this thing, the content that this thing has to offer just blooms, and it's absolutely breathtaking. It first starts off making you feel uneasy, like you're in the middle of the woods and it's gloomy and foggy, and you know that something's out there, but you just don't know what that something is. The soft, whispery vocals, especially in a song like Mothers or Eastern Comfort, just emphasize the spine-chilling melodies. This type of creepy tone reminded me a lot of Alexandra Saviour's Belladonna of Sadness, which came out last year. And if you do check out this album and you like it a lot, then I also suggest checking out Belladonna of Sadness. A bit further into the album, and it slowly transitions into this more upbeat tone, yet still keeping that emotion of like melancholy. It was at first, this album was dark and haunting in a way, but Steady Holiday slowly added color throughout the tracks. With the lead vocalist Dre, it just shows that her voice is the perfect ingredient in this melting pot of folk, indie, orchestral, dream pop, etc. I am not the biggest fan of folk, so when I heard Trapping Season for the first time, that was probably my favorite folk song I listened to, one of my favorite tracks in the album, and one of my favorite tracks in 2018 alone. And that says something. So with Steady Holidays, Nobody's Watching, I'm putting this in the savory and sweet category, with the savory side being that haunting, creepy tone, slowly transitioning its way to a more sweet type feeling. Number 8 on my list is the one and only Kali Uchis with her album Isolation. I fucking loved this album. I loved it so much to the point that I hated it because I was listening to it so much, but now we're good. This album is so colorful and smooth like fucking silk. The production and her voice are hypnotizing, and it puts you in this dreamlike state of paradise. The R&B makes you feel like you're melting, and the more neo-soul slash pop sounding stuff hits you with this uplifting, groovy type shit where you just want to dance the night away. If you haven't seen my review, I said that this album puts you in a setting of a very retro and tropical environment. The features are placed perfectly and complement the track and Kelly's voice. Her independence and creativity really shined in this project. A lot of people know her from Tyler the Creator, however, she was able to create her own image and kind of disconnected herself from being only known as that girl in some of Tyler's songs. Isolation is honestly magical, to say the least, so with that in mind, I'm putting this in both the sweet and spicy category, spicy being like, oh shit, it's a bop, and muy caliente. Moving on to number 7 on our list, I'm gonna give it to Earl Sweatshirt's Some Rap Songs. It's just mind-boggling to me that Earl was able to create a 24-minute album with 15 songs, yet still carrying all this thought and raw emotion. He legit just says what's on his mind and moves on to the next track. The production is strange and unorthodox, to say the least. I love the lo-fi chill beats and the choppiness of them. It just sounds like someone grabbing these different pieces of samples and cutting them up into chunks and throwing them in a pot. Yet Earl serves these ingredients to you raw and just doesn't really put a lot of time into making it pretty in a way. If you taste the album, however, god, I love fucking food analogies, you really get the flavors from elements like his lyrics, which are more structured like poetry, and the disoriented old school vibe that it gives off. Here's some more food analogies for you. To me, this project is like the epitome of staying up till 3 in the morning, and you're hungry as fuck, so you go down to your nearest McDonald's or the nearest fucking Little Caesars. This shit might not look like a 5-star restaurant meal, but bitch, that shit tastes like fucking heaven. This album is essentially the audible representation of being in your house late at night while eating comfort food. And with that, I'm putting Earl's album into the savory category because you're definitely not gonna understand what the fuck just happened on first listen. Albums 6 to 3 on this list are essentially interchangeable. I can't really put them in a specific place because every single time I fucking look at my list, I'm like, actually, I think this album's better than this. Oh, wait, never mind. I'm just switching all these around. They're, like, all equally good, and if I were to compare one album to the other, it's like comparing fucking pineapples to pomegranates. You can't really compare them, except, hey, they're both really fucking good. This little midsection of my list isn't too specific with its numbering, so yeah, without further ado, number 6 that I have on my list is Mac Miller's Swimming. Mac beautifully described his journey of learning to love, understand, and just take care of himself. Don't get me wrong, I still love this album, but holy shit, after watching Tabby's analysis video on this fucking album, I was indulged straight into the depths of this project that I never knew existed. A lot of these albums in my top 10 are really raw and emotional, and this is no exception. Mac simply put the feeling of fear and anxiety into the sink or swim situation, yet he was able to elaborate that simple analogy into 13 tracks. In tracks where he's more chill and transparent, like Wings or Don't Know, It feels as if he's floating in water, but it's not like he's floating there because he's starting to get anxious again, or if he's contemplating on whether he should keep swimming. He's simply just floating to think back and tell us about his adventures thus far. It's as if he saw you in the water, whether you're also swimming or floating or maybe even drowning, and he's encouraging you to keep swimming through the struggles that you might be facing, while also giving his insight on how he felt. In other tracks where he's more upbeat and fresh in production and tone, like Self-Care or Ladders, it sounds like he's having fun while swimming through this ocean of life, whether he's treading through a beautiful coral reef or if he's fucking swimming through a tsunami. He's just having fun. I'm just so grateful that Mac has gifted us this guide to self-love and self-care and just happiness. And with this, I'm putting swimming in the savory and spicy category. Moving on to number 5 on my list, we have motherfucking Brockhampton's Iridescence. Yes, I got the fucking cassette. No, you can't have it, okay? Fight me. If you haven't seen my review of Iridescence, in which you definitely should, I compared this album as if it was a cinematic movie that was shot on a thermal camera, and that description still holds up when I listen to this project. The unpredictability of this rap group just gives you this rush of anticipation when you listen to them, and the path that they took to be more experimental and outlandish makes this album so much more exciting. Each member was very emotional in this project, and probably the most emotional they have been throughout their entire discography. Members like Joba have been very transparent, and you can hear that in songs like Tonya or Juve. Even though they haven't had that long of a hiatus, they still had all this tension that they've bottled up through this time period, and they've just released it all in this project. Despite them blowing up in these past couple of years and having all this influence in the industry, they're still able to keep you feeling like you're part of this close, inclusive community, and you can really hear that in their music, especially in songs like San Marcos. And can we have a fucking moment to appreciate the pure beauty and elegance in that last part of the album, with the tracks like San Marcos, Tanya, and Fabric, and the in-your-face, grimy shit throughout this whole entire album. It's amazing to hear how much they've progressed, yet they still show that they are still evolving with each new project that they release. Brockhampton's being put in the savory and spicy category. Coming in on number 4 on this list is Anderson .Paak's Oxnard. Oxnard is so fucking slick, clean, and polished. Holy fucking shit. Each new track is like a breath of fresh air. It's just a very flavorful album, and Paak is able to carry all his views on stuff like politics while still keeping it a fun and enjoyable listen. He kind of gives everyone like a backhanded compliment, and a good example of this would be in 6 Summers with "Trump's got a love child and I hope that bitch is buck wild." He's just so confident with his delivery, and the funky, groovy production from people like Dr. Dre complement his unique voice so well. In tracks where he's more vulnerable, Paak still manages to keep the tone very soft and silky. In tracks like Smile/Petty or Trippy, he simply expresses his opinions on how the world is going on right now, and his only resolution to these issues is to spread peace and try to find love in this sea of hatred and chaos. At the end of the day, Anderson's just having fun and encourages the listener to also have fun as well, especially in the ending tracks like Sweet Chick or Left to Right. This project is like essentially a moment of bliss from the madness that's going on around the world, and it's honestly beautiful. So with that in mind, I'm putting Oxnard in the sweet and spicy category for this list. Number 3 goes to Denzel Curry's Taboo. It was brilliant of Denzel to organize his album into 3 acts, and how he takes you through this dark, chaotic path. It starts off with Taboo, which does sound like an opening to some twisted, creepy TV show or film. And then it ends with Blackmail Terrorist, where it starts off sounding like some happily ever after, which then switches to this crazy in-your-face rap. In his last track, he's essentially saying there is no happy ending with the concept of taboo and taboo topics. It was as if he's reading you this story with one of the most introspective and disturbing plots, with each chapter getting darker and more unsettling. And these are the fucking types of books where you have to read through it again and fucking probably even get those black lights or whatever the fuck and like shine them through the pages in order to find and understand the concepts that are buried in this album. And then with the closing track, as mentioned earlier, Denzel is like about to close the book, Then all of a sudden he opens it up and starts like fucking ripping pages in front of you, and then you're just stuck there in shock. Carey still manages to fit a variety of songs in this project. Despite the number of bangers, there is some more mellow stuff in there. The production pops with each track, and his lyricism fits perfectly with the beat. Even though this might be a more sinister project, there is a lot of color and even moments of beautiful harmony that just ties this project together. Taboo is gonna be put in my spicy category, as in the fucking definition of bangerland right there. We're down to our top 2 albums already, and number 2 may surprise you. It sure as hell surprised me. Number 2 is the New Daughters album, You Won't Get What You Want. I did not expect a noise rock album to take the number 2 spot, let alone be in this list in the first place, especially since I'm not a regular or familiar listener to this type of genre. I mean, I was kind of used to it since I was listening to a lot of experimental stuff, and because I had an emo phase in 7th grade that we're not gonna talk about. Okay. Every time I listen to this album, I always feel like I'm at like the edge of my seat. At first I was excited and overwhelmed, but in a good way. It felt like something dark and mysterious was slowly surrounding me, consumed me all at once, and then slowly started to digest me. But throughout the whole fucking process, I felt absolutely fantastic. I'm describing this album as if it's some whack-ass drug like cocaine, and in a way it is. This project just hits and hits and hits, and it just sticks to you. It leaves this sour taste in your mouth, and it just keeps feeding you more and more throughout the duration of this album. The instrumentals are stinging and jarring, and since there's so much chaos sonically, the lyricism on this thing is more simplified and really emphasizes the sounds. It may be a bit repetitive at some times, but so little words say so much. When I really started reading these lyrics, they're probably some of the most like concept heavy, introspective, absolutely raw, real, and deep type shit I've ever seen in my life. This album is probably the closest sonical representation of someone feeling so hopeless, unhinged, and just slowly turning insane. You can feel the desperation screaming in your face as you listen to this album. Not gonna lie, this was a terrifying listen. I listened to a few songs last night and I was scared. Besides all of that, this album's fucking amazing. And I do agree with most people who have reviewed this album. This is a solid 10 out of 10 project. Daughters is obviously just pure sourness right there. So if you're not into that whack-ass shit, then probably not advised for you to listen to this album. You might get a bit freaked out. Just a little bit. Now with all that out of the way, we're finally here at my number 1 album of the year. Yes, this is my album of the year. This is my list. But for my album of the year, we're giving it up for JPEG Mafia's Veteran. Hell yeah, I got a fucking Veteran cassette also. I put this album as number 1, not only because it's amazing, but also because this album was the start of a new journey. Veteran was the first noise rap album I've ever listened to, and at first I felt very uneasy and confused, and in all honesty, I wasn't a fan at first listen, but for some reason, something was just telling me to go back to the album. After each listen, I slowly grew to like it more and more. Real was one of the most outlandish things I've heard. However, after all these listens, I fucking love that track, and it's probably one of my favorite tracks of 2018 as well. Veteran has essentially pushed me into this rabbit hole of noise rap and other experimental genres of that sort. I discovered clipping and death grips, and also grown to love artists like Sophie. If I haven't discovered this album, then some of the albums on this list and in my honorable mentions, this wouldn't be there. Even Daughters, You Won't Get What You Want might not have been on my list. This project is a mix of funny one-liners like, AR built like Lena Dunham, when I shoot, I don't miss. Are you fucking kidding me? That's so clever and fucking hilarious. It's also this mix of abrasive instrumentals and song titles, like My Thoughts on NeoGaf Dying and fucking TJ Snitch Bitch, and obviously you can't forget Libtard Anthem. And he also hits you with these concepts and topics where he is really essentially shitting on everyone and everything, from libtards to internet bloggers. Yet there are also moments where he's more raw and transparent. Ever since Veteran came out, it was essentially one of the few projects that really stuck with me throughout this year, and it never gets old after all these listens. I want to thank Peggy for essentially opening this door to a whole nother world of music that I've never thought really existed. So with this significance and impact that this album had on me, I'm giving Veteran my top spot for album of the year. Oh, and it's also put in the sweet, savory, and spicy category, if you're wondering. Anyways, we're done. That's my album of the year list. If you want to give your list, go ahead into the comments below. Like I said, this is my fucking list. I'm not saying that everyone should think that Veteran is the best fucking project of 2018. This is just how I feel. You don't know how my brain processes music. Okay, so yeah, that's really it. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys have an amazing new year. 2019 is gonna be a journey for this channel. If you haven't already, follow me on my Twitter and Instagram and motherfucking Spotify. Stay tuned for more content by doing the subscribes and the likes and all that other stuff. I love you guys, and I'll see you next year.